The year is 1916. Europe is drowning in blood. The Great War, once a romantic adventure, has become a stagnant, muddy hell. The Western Front is a scar of trenches, a testament to industrial slaughter. Hope has withered. The quick victory promised by generals is a distant memory. In the corridors of power, a new sinister calculus emerges: war as attrition, a contest to see which nation breaks first. German Chief of Staff Erich von Falkenhayn devises a plan of chilling cruelty. He targets not a military objective, but a symbol: Verdun, the ancient fortress city, the heart of French pride. Falkenhayn's aim is not to capture Verdun, but to turn it into a meat grinder, forcing France to bleed itself white. His infamous Christmas memorandum is blunt: "Within our reach there are objectives for the retention of which the French would be compelled to throw in every man they have. If they do so, the forces of France will bleed to death." This is not tactical genius, but industrial nihilism. Germany's heavy artillery will create a killing field, Verdun as an anvil, German guns as the hammer. The soul of France is to be pulverized, its youth sacrificed in a futile defense. This is not war as Clausewitz imagined. It is something monstrous. Soldiers are now raw materials, fed into the machinery of annihilation. The plan, Operation Judgment, is a death sentence for a generation. Verdun is chosen with psychological precision, more than a city. It is the guardian of Paris, a bastion of pride. To lose it would be unthinkable. Falkenhayn is betting French honour will compel them to walk willingly into his abattoir. The stage is set for one of history's most brutal battles. February 21st, 1916. At 7:15 a.m., a colossal shell explodes in Verdun, the opening note of a symphony of destruction. Over 1,200 German guns unleash a 9-hour bombardment, turning the sky black and the earth into a churning wasteland. French trenches are obliterated, men are atomized, the landscape erased. Forests become splintered stumps, dugouts vanish, and men are buried alive or driven mad by the endless roar. A French officer calls it a monstrous organ whose notes are death. The bombardment aims to annihilate not just defenders, but the very ground itself. Life becomes a struggle for survival against an invisible, omnipotent enemy. Trenches are foul ditches of mud and the dead. The air reeks of cordite and decay. Soldiers huddle in shell holes, praying the next shell isn't theirs. Sleep is impossible, food and water scarce, nerves frayed to breaking. The world is reduced to the shriek of shells and the shudder of impact. Verdun is not a battle of movement, but a siege of the human spirit. Falkenhayn's plan works. The French front shatters. Survivors are stunned and isolated. They stumble through a nightmare world sculpted by high explosives. One soldier recalls, "You eat, drink, sleep next to the dead. You laugh and sing in the company of the dead." Horror becomes normal. The world has been turned upside down. As if the artillery wasn't enough, a new terror creeps across the battlefield: gas. The Germans unleash chemical weapons, phosgene and diphosgene gas, heavier than air, sinking into every trench and shell hole. Early gas masks are primitive and unreliable. To be caught without one is a death sentence. The gas attacks the lungs, drowning men in their own bodies. Panic sweeps the trenches at the sight of a drifting greenish cloud, an enemy you cannot fight. The psychological impact is profound. Every breath is a risk, every moment filled with dread. French soldier Louis Barthès writes, "Suddenly the sentinels yell, 'Gas! Gas!' We hastily put on our masks. We wait, holding our breath, our hearts pounding." It is a war against the very air. Chemical warfare violates the old codes of combat. Impersonal, indiscriminate, agonizing. Survivors are often scarred for life, their lungs ruined, their voices are rasped. The use of gas at Verdun marks a descent into barbarism. There are no longer any limits in the pursuit of victory. Gas becomes another tool to break the spirit, making the battlefield unlivable. Surrender begins to seem like mercy. Northeast of Verdun looms Fort Douaumont, once the keystone of the city's defences. By 1916, it's nearly abandoned, its guns removed, its garrison a skeleton crew. On February 25th, a handful of lost German pioneers enter the fort, finding it almost undefended. They capture Europe's mightiest fortress without firing a shot. Germany celebrates. France reels in humiliation. The psychological blow is immense. Douaumont must be retaken at any cost. General Pétain vows they shall not pass. The fort becomes an obsession. For months, French soldiers charge into machine gun fire and artillery, the ground around Douaumont turning into a charnel house. Finally, in October, French troops breach the fort after months of brutal combat. The recapture is a moral victory, but at a staggering price. The struggle for Douaumont is a microcosm of Verdun's senseless attritional horror. Verdun is more than a battle, it's an industrial process of human destruction. Soldiers call it the mill on the Meuse, the meat grinder, literal descriptions of their fate. Men are sent to the front knowing they are little more than flesh to stop German steel. Tours of duty are measured in days, sometimes hours, before death, wounds or madness. The experience strips away all notions of glory, leaving only the instinct to survive. Shell shock is rampant. Men break down, their minds shattered. A French lieutenant writes, "They are not soldiers, they are men, fathers, who are afraid and not ashamed to be afraid." Grief is constant. Friends are vaporized or cut down, bodies left where they fall. The living step over the dead, sleep beside the dead, and try not to become the dead. Hopelessness erodes the spirit. A German soldier writes, "What is a human life? Nothing, less than nothing." Grinding down the human spirit is central to the battle's design. A war of nerves. Soldiers become automatons, their inner worlds collapsing. Survivors return as ghosts, hollowed out by what they've seen. Verdun grinds not just bodies, but souls to dust. Verdun's survival depends on a single, narrow road. The Sacred Way. With railways cut, this 35-mile stretch is the only lifeline for supplies and troops. General Pétain organizes a non-stop convoy of trucks. An entire division maintains the road. For soldiers, the journey up the Sacred Way is a road to hell, filled with dread. They see ambulances returning, the haunted faces of men they replace. The road is a conveyor belt to the meat grinder. Those who return are changed, gaunt, filthy, haunted. The Sacred Way feeds the furnace of battle, ensuring the front never breaks, even as men do. To understand Verdun's horror, listen to the men who were there. Their diaries and letters speak of fear, exhaustion, and the loss of humanity. French soldier Alfred Joubert writes, "Humanity is mad. What a massacre. Hell cannot be so terrible." Soldiers see the endless cycle of attack and counterattack as a meaningless ritual of death. A German soldier writes, "We lie in our holes and wait for the shell that will tear us to pieces. What is the point of all this? The only solace is the bond between comrades, sharing bread, water and fears." The death of a friend is devastating. Captain Augustin Cochin writes, "The sacrifice is more than we can bear. My heart is breaking." This shared trauma binds survivors for life, a brotherhood forged in hell. These voices cut through time, reminding us that behind the statistics were real people with stolen futures. French infantryman Raymond Joubert says, "We were a generation of men who, for 4 years, did a job they loathed." Their testimony is Verdun's enduring legacy, a warning against the catastrophic price of war. Verdun ends not with victory, but with exhaustion. The front lines are unchanged. Everything is lost. The battle leaves a permanent scar on France, Germany and Europe. Survivors return as hollow men, unable to reconnect with civilian life. The trauma fuels pacifism and exposes the lies of glory and honor. Art and literature reflect the brokenness. Remarks all quiet on the Western Front, Barbusse under fire, and Otto Dix's nightmarish paintings. The old certainties are shattered, replaced by emptiness. Verdun becomes a pilgrimage site for mourners, not victors. The Douaumont ossuary stands as a chilling monument to anonymous death. Even today, the land is scarred, the past never far beneath the surface. Verdun is a permanent monument to the cost of industrialized war. Here, the soldier became a cog in a machine of annihilation. Courage was meaningless against artillery. The land itself bears witness. The red zone remains unfit for habitation, a wounded landscape. In 1984, French and German leaders stood hand in hand at Douaumont, symbolizing reconciliation. Verdun, once a symbol of enmity, became a foundation for European unity. Yet the lesson is somber. Peace is fragile, and nationalism's cost is terrifying. In a war of attrition, there are no winners, only loss. The silence over Verdun is filled with echoes of thunder and the voices of the lost. asking, for what?